Let me talk about the thoughts behind this book and what it originated from. Maybe I think I shall first talk about the spirit of the book and then the contents of the book. The spirit of the book is talking about what do we see in the world around us? How can we see a bright, different world in days to come? And what is it? What is the path between today's world and tomorrow's world? The spirit of the book is coming out with a proven or a tentative mechanism of taking us from where we are to where we can be. And the spirit of the book is a conversation about that. The spirit of the book is about measurement, because quite often we talk of a problem in a very rough way. Our belief is that unless you measure something, you cannot solve it. So the spirit of the book is about measurement, and the spirit of the book is about an action based on measurement. In a sense, it is about how to solve a problem. And it talks about all the problems that we read about day in and day out and tries to distill from it some core things that are at the root of all these things. And these we define as the 3 E's: the energy, environment, and employment. And let me talk a bit about what I mean by each one of them and where we think is the problem. When it comes to energy, the problem is that the world is at large a consumer of energy and not a producer of energy. The producer of the energy as we see it today are few countries, and then in the rest of the countries, few companies who make that energy available to others. In any situation where there are few producers and many consumers, you can easily imagine the kind of problems that there can be. And we see those problems today. The second E is environment. We feel it, we sense it, we hear it, we taste it all the time. In this book, we talk about what are the parameters of environment. How do you look at environment? And we talk about the degradation of that. And at a very broad level, it can be the diversity that was there a few decades ago and the diversity that is there now. The kind of plants and insects and animals that we are losing day after day. The changes that we are seeing in the weather, the changes that we are seeing in water that we drink. And so it goes in depth of what is environment. And last and not the least is employment. Now, I think it is important to understand the word employment in the context in which we are using it. We are talking about employment as also self-employment. Employment is not just an ability to get paid. I think it's an ability to get paid money with dignity. So if somebody were to give you free money, to us, it's not employment. If somebody were to give a donation, it's not employment. Your ability to generate income by virtue of your own effort with dignity is to us employment. And when we look at all of this, we believe that today where we stand is that we are using the wrong energy, we are destroying the environment, and we are not generating employment. Because in country after country, we find the problem of diversion of incomes. We find the income of tremendous diversity or tremendous differences in incomes of people, etc. So this is currently the problem. Then we talk about what is it that will take us from where we are today to a better, brighter, cleaner, and more just world. And there we are talking about 4 levels. So we believe, and we are calling it STEP, and that STEP stands for each one. And it doesn't necessarily talk about what is the priority, but we believe that social engagement, technology, E for economic model, and P for public policy. You need really the confluence of these 4 to actually conclusively solve a problem. Technology alone cannot do it. Social engagement alone cannot do it. Economic policy, economic model alone cannot do it. And public policy alone cannot do it. But working together, most of these levers coming together can deliver it. And then we go deeper into each one of them. Technology is, of course, our passion for both of us. And we talk about what are the changes that are happening in technologies and what are the enormous opportunities that are coming up by virtue of the confluence of technologies. So you have a computer technology coming in, you have telecommunications coming in, and then you have a solution like Airbnb, where all of us can get enough place to stay without there being additional hotels constructed. Because your spare room and my spare room can be available as a hotel room when we want to do it. Again, when these 2 technologies come in, you have an Ola and Uber, which can hopefully see less number of cars on the road and speedier transport for all of us. So we talk about the technologies, the levers of technology and the confluence of these technologies as to what impact they can have on energy and environment and also employment. And there is a lot of discussion currently going on about what will happen when all cars are autonomous. When there is artificial intelligence and machine learning, where will the jobs be? So we talk a bit about that. The other lever that we are talking about is social engagement. Nothing can change unless a large number of people in a society want to see changes. Because, as Machiavelli has said, anybody who wishes to make a change is up against a wall, because those who are benefiting from the current situation clearly see that their benefit will be lost. And those who are likely to get benefit are also thinking that, there is a slim chance that we might get some benefit. So, any change creates a resistance, and you cannot actually overcome that change unless you are able to get some social engagement. Luckily, in our opinion, now is a time when social engagement can be facilitated by technology. For good or for bad, you still have Trump elected, right? And social media had a lot of contribution in that. But we believe that social engagement can be very highly facilitated by technology. This book also talks about how things have happened and where they have done well. It also talks about which social movements are, so to say, successful and which are not successful, without coming out with a value judgment as to what success means. Then we talk about public policy. And I would think that you would like to read that chapter. Here we talk about what is a good public policy. In a country, or I should say across the world, in a polity where every politician would like to come up with a quick answer, and say that all problems will be solved. How can you develop a public policy which has the least interference but the highest impact? These are some of the thoughts which are brought into this book about what could be the right way of developing a public policy. And last and most probably important is the economic model. No change can be sustainable if it depends on a governmental policy, if it depends on a subsidy, or if it depends on the money that a venture capitalist will put in at an initial stage. So it talks about these 4 things. Then the book talks about where we have seen transformational changes today in the past. So, many of you might be have a memory of a time when milk was, for example, in short supply. I remember at 5:30 in the morning, I had to go and get milk. And some of you would remember that. Now, I don't think anybody goes out at 5 o'clock in the morning, stand in a queue. White revolution. What was the role played by economic model in white revolution? What was the role played by technology? What was the role played by the policies? And what was the role played by the social engagement? So all of that we bring out, and we bring out some cases where such transformations have happened. So far, it is actually a thought process. And then, actually we have 2 chapters where we have tried to do something in this area, and we have picked up 2 challenges. Anybody who walks in any Indian city sees filth around, and you notice it even more if you have your foreign friend with you. You want him to look at the sky. Hopefully, the sky is clear. You don't want him to look around. And that's a problem that kind of gnaws at our hearts. And we have done some work in the area of solid waste management in Pune. Through an institution with which both of us have been connected, an institution called Janwani. I started that institution when I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and the idea has been, how can we make a change in people? And we cover 500,000 population in Pune working in this area. And as a result of that, we have been working on what kind of major changes will be required if we can give really a push to the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. We have some experiences in that area, and the book talks about it. The second thing that the book talks about is an area where we think we know a little bit more, and that's the area of transportation. The world of mobility is changing substantially towards cleaner, smarter, safer mobility. We have both been engaged in a company which is engaged in driving that change. We believe, we see a world where we can have clean mobility, where we don't have to import fuel from abroad. We don't have to depend on anything than our own local resources. We can create a mobility whereby our farmers will get some money out of it, etc. And we paint a picture of that. We believe that the technologies are available, and once we put the other 3 levers in place, we can do that. The book also talks about what is it that will mean this movement from leapfrogging to pole vaulting, what kind of leaders we need and what leaders we can possibly generate. And the book ends in a note of optimism that we both very strongly share. I think no conversation about the future can be complete by just talking about the problems of present. But I think that conversation necessarily has to include how can we make a major change? And we are convinced that major change can happen. Long ago, I had read a book which likened the flow of humanity with the flow of a river. And it said that, in the initial stages, the river comes down from the mountains. And then you have a place where there is rapids, a lot of movement, very destructive, etc. And after that, it gets into a stage of placidity. We believe that we are in this stage of rapid just now, where these three ASEs are making big changes. And we believe that if we can think through and solve our problems of today, we can reach a stage of a nice, smooth flowing river, which we can all enjoy. So this is a book about that optimism. And this is a book about that optimism, which is based on the experiences that we have and the thoughts that we have put together. I hope you will enjoy reading it as much as we enjoyed writing it. Thank you very much.